Out of all teams that made the playoffs, it's safe to say the Cleveland Cavaliers were the team that people watched the least. I mean, there's a reason why. Like, every game in the series between the Cavs and Magic were on NBA TV. Even with Donovan Mitchell being an extremely talented, exciting player to watch who just had an incredible postseason until he got injured, he just doesn't have the same draw as most other stars. Lost in the discussion, however, is something contentious that was reported prior to the start of the playoffs. The buzz in NBA circles suggests that barring a run to the NBA Finals, Mitchell will decline an extension and look elsewhere, and the Cavaliers are more likely than not to move him well before he can leave outright as a free agent. That puts a huge damper on their future plans if Mitchell leaves, because they gave up so much to get him. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today I want to talk about several NBA teams with quite a bleak future, even if it doesn't seem like it at first glance. How did these teams put themselves in such a precarious position? Let's take a look. Back in the summer of 2022, when they made the trade for Donovan Mitchell, it was initially seen as an okay trade, I guess. At the time, Colin Sexton's career was going downhill, and nobody knew Lauri Markkanen would make the jump he did. However, nobody thought Donovan Mitchell was able to elevate his game like this either, as he made another jump when he arrived to Cleveland. People remember how they got dismantled by the Knicks in the playoffs, which, yeah, sure, that did happen, but his first season in Cleveland was more successful than anyone anticipated. They still finished the season with the second highest net rating out of all teams in the league. And even though the 2024 season was marred with injuries, with Mitchell playing only 55 games, the Cavs still registered a phenomenal 36-19 record in the games he did play, 12-15 in the games he didn't. In terms of immediate success, the trade for Mitchell worked out better for the Cavs than it did for the Jazz, who, despite Lauri's improvement, they're still struggling to make it back to the playoffs. Unfortunately, you also have to consider what the future of this team looks like. As of this video, Mitchell's desire to stay in Cleveland is up in the air, and they also gave up 3 first-round picks to get him. From the way the Cavs are built, they need him. In fact, he's like the only player on this team who can consistently generate offense. In theory, this roster complements him quite well. They got 2 defensive-minded bigs to cover for his deficiencies. They got some decent shooters to space the floor, though it could be better. And they're a fairly young team who will grow alongside him. The Cavs are a legitimate playoff team, but their entire existence revolves around Donovan Mitchell. It doesn't help they're also in the top 10 in payroll, well over the salary cap, with not much wiggle room to improve the roster. With the biggest question being Mitchell's commitment to the Cavs, the second big question is, what in the world happened to Darius Garland? Not too long ago, it seemed like he was on the verge of becoming one of the NBA's next generation of young point guards. I still remember how everyone used to wonder who was gonna have a better career, Garland or Tyrese Halliburton. They were compared quite often, but Halliburton has run away with it, while Garland has flown under the shadow of Mitchell. Before the playoffs started, the Cavs were even accused of tanking their final game in order to get what they assumed was an easier matchup against Orlando, as opposed to facing Philly or Miami in the first round. Mitchell has made it very clear he wants to make it further in the playoffs if he's gonna re-sign with Cleveland. So perhaps this was a last-ditch attempt to keep him? To entice him to stay by winning a playoff series? It's definitely not a good signal for your superstar. Besides having the NBA's best attendance numbers, the Bulls, on paper, should be better. If Lonzo hadn't got injured, they would have been a much more competitive team because he's exactly what they're missing, a fantastic playmaker who can play off the ball within the flow of the offense. The worst part about being stuck as a play-in team is you'll never get great value from the draft. While it's not uncommon to see lower lottery picks become superstars in the NBA, there's a much higher chance if their picks were higher. It feels like they haven't drafted a guy truly capable of being the franchise star since Derrick Rose back in 2008. Combined with the Bulls having the 9th highest payroll in the entire NBA, the results do not reflect their spending.
The Miami Heat have done it again. Second straight year. They claim seed.
Fans point to Jerry Reinsdorf as the biggest culprit. If the Michael Jordan era never happened, the Bulls would be arguably the worst franchise in the history of basketball. However, it's this quote from him that did not sit well with fans. I think the important thing for fans is, while they want you to win championships, they want to know that when you get to the last month of the season, you still have a shot. You're still playing meaningful games. If you can do that consistently, you'll make your fans happy. Now that's kind of strange. So from Jerry's point of view, as long as his team remains somewhat competitive, even if they don't have a shot at the title, the fans would be okay with that? Are Bulls fans really okay with being in the play-ins year after year? It's the downside of being one of the NBA's most popular teams. The Bulls led the league in attendance again. Even with a mediocre team, fans will still show up to watch this crapshoot. Because of that, management and ownership doesn't feel the urge to change things, as long as the money keeps flowing in. It feels like we've been waiting for this team to blow it up for a while now. It's clear this roster, with its unfortunate injury luck, has reached its ceiling. DeMar DeRozan's contract expired, Zach LaVine suffered another injury, and Lonzo's career is in limbo. With all this, it's the perfect time to start over. Or will they keep trying to hold on to a lost cause? There's a bright side to the Wizards' misery. They have all of their draft picks and more, but that's basically the only bright side. And just because you have all your picks doesn't mean they're going to turn into great players. With the way their roster is currently built, it's clear they still want to tank to hopefully draft players who can help them win in the future. So during this time, we're going to be watching Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma lead the greatest tank job in history. Oh, here's a fun fact. Out of every player in the league who attempts at least 15 shots a game, Jordan Poole has the worst efficiency. Kyle Kuzma has the 5th worst efficiency. Considering these two make up the bulk of their possessions, it's no wonder their offense looks so bad, and their defense is even worse. After trading away Daniel Gafford, they have no dedicated rim protector, and no, Marvin Bagley does not count. The Wizards have also experienced a ton of turnover with their coaching staff and front office. Perhaps it's a good thing. It shows they're trying to change. With that being said, there is something cool to keep in mind. I've heard people criticize the Wizards for signing Kuzma and Poole to long-term deals. But if you take a look at their contracts, the amount of money they're getting paid is pretty high, but every team needs to reach the salary floor. So they gotta spend money somewhere. The length of their contracts seems bad at a glance, but here's the thing. While the Wizards are losing a lot, they will have many chances in the top of the draft. And by the time Poole and Kuzma's deals are over, they should have enough young talent to lead them to the next era. So at least the Wizards have established a solid timeline to follow. Hopefully, in the best case scenario, those picks will turn into productive players. Remember the post-KG Paul Pierce era in Brooklyn, where they basically gave up their entire future for a bunch of old guys who left shortly after? Well, on the bright side, this time, at least they have their picks. When the Nets traded Kevin Durant to Phoenix, they were pleasantly surprised with how they finished the season. For about 2 months, Mikal Bridges was looking like an absolute stud, maybe even a potential franchise star for Brooklyn. He put up numbers on a comparable efficiency to Kevin Durant, and so the Nets falsely believed Bridges could lead them further. Well, the 2023-24 season was a wake-up call. As Patrick Beverley put it, he tricked y'all. Bridges' production plummeted, and he's not even the best player on the team anymore. He cemented himself as a role player who tried to masquerade as a star. The worst part is, the Nets front office truly got fooled by him. In the summer of 2023, they didn't make any significant moves at all, because according to Sean Marks, they were banking on natural improvement to return back to the playoffs. That's why they re-signed Cameron Johnson to a 4-year, $94 million deal with the intention to keep this core together. Except this core hasn't shown any capability of carrying this franchise. Sean Marks even rejected a trade for Jalen Green. According to Shams, the Rockets offered Jalen Green, plus multiple first-round picks they received from the James Harden trade years ago. And the Nets refused. Now, Green, he's had his ups and downs, we all know that. But one thing is certain. His upside is far higher than Mikal Bridges. If the Nets did make this deal, it would have given them some hope for their future. The worst part is, they're not a particularly young team either. Even during an Eastern Conference decimated by injuries, they still were not able to make the playoffs. As the rest of the conference improves in strength and gets healthy, the Nets have significantly less young talent compared to their peers. I mean, even the Detroit Pistons have Cade Cunningham, a guy with a way better chance to become a superstar. On the Nets, they have Cam Thomas, I guess, but nobody is convinced that he's that guy. They still don't have their franchise star, because he'll probably be selected in a future draft class. In a similar manner as the Cavs, the trade rumors for the Hawks superstar has gotten louder and louder. Since their incredible run to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Hawks have floundered near the bottom of the playoff standings, and despite efforts to build around Trae, they haven't made any progress whatsoever. The DeJounte Murray experiment has failed, with evidence to back it up. When Trae and Murray are on the court together, the Hawks have a putrid net rating of -5.7. When only Trae is on the floor with Murray on the bench, they are +3.5. For comparison, the Bucks as a team had a net rating of +2.6 in the 2023-24 season. I think if Trae played more without DeJounte, they could have been close to a 46 or 47 win team in the East, which would put them firmly in the playoffs. Heck, even when Murray is by himself with no Trae, still significantly better than when they played together. On a positive note, they do have a ton of young players, many of whom have more potential than we give them credit for. But if the Hawks have another season where they miss the playoffs, the pressure is on the organization to keep Trae in Atlanta. What's weird to me is, as of now, the reports claim the Hawks prefer moving Trae instead of Murray, with San Antonio being a frontrunner to get him. For them, it makes sense. They need an actual point guard, and Trae is an incredibly underrated passer. For the Hawks, it doesn't make any sense at all. Trae is their franchise player, he's younger and better than DeJounte, and the numbers support that. The rest of the roster is the main issue. They need more of everything. You can't look at this list of players and think, oh, these guys are capable of starting on a playoff team. There are so many holes, so many gaps to fill, and they're running out of time, as Trae is also getting impatient. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on any other teams with very bleak futures. Which non-playoff teams can you see contending for the title in the next few years? Which of these teams is about to shock the world? Let me know in the comments. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.